I am 83 years old, and I wish someone had sat me down at 79, poured me a cup of tea, and said, Laura, once you turn 80, life doesn't just keep going the way it did in your 70s. Because I walked into 80 like I was walking into 75. Same habits, same expectations, same pride, same denial. And then 80 arrived, and five things happened whether I liked it or not. I'm not talking about rare medical disasters. I'm not talking about a diagnosis that only happens to some unlucky people. I mean shifts, universal ones, quiet ones, the kind that sneak up on you, and then suddenly you're standing in your kitchen wondering when the rules changed. Some of these changes scared me. One of them surprised me. And the fifth one, honestly, the fifth one is the most liberating thing that has ever happened to me. But if I hadn't lived through the first four, I might have missed it completely. So I'm going to tell you what those five things are, exactly how they showed up in my life, and what I did when they did. And I'm going to say it in plain language, because I am not here to perform aging gracefully. I'm here to tell you the truth. The first thing that happened after 80 was that my energy and my sleep changed their schedule without asking my permission. And look, I'm not talking about being a little tired. I mean my whole body started operating on a new rhythm. I used to be able to stay up until 11 if I wanted to. I used to have a second wind after dinner. After 80, that second wind moved out. Around 8:30, my body would start shutting down like a store closing for the night. My eyes would burn. My head would feel heavy. And if I fought it, I paid for it the next day. Then I'd wake up early, 5:30. Sometimes 5, wide awake, as if my body was saying, all right, we're up, let's go. At first, I fought it. I felt old. I felt embarrassed. I told myself 80 is too young to be in bed at 9, which is a ridiculous sentence when I say it out loud now, but that's what pride does. It makes you argue with reality. And what I didn't understand back then is that this wasn't my body breaking. It was my body reorganizing. My energy peaked in the morning now. If I wanted to do something that required focus, paperwork, phone calls, anything that needed my brain, I had to do it before noon. By 2 o'clock, I would hit a dip so sharp it felt like someone turned down a dimmer switch inside me. So I stopped fighting it. I redesigned my day. I do the important things early. I walk early. I pay bills early. I plan meals early. And at 2 in the afternoon, I sit down for 20 minutes. Not a dramatic nap. Not crawling into bed like I'm sick. Just a rest. I close my eyes in my chair by the window, and I let my body reset. That small change gave me my days back. The second thing that happened after 80 was my social world changed shape, whether I wanted it to or not. Some of it was loss. There's no point pretending otherwise. Friends moved closer to their children. Friends got sick. Friends died. And then there were the quieter losses, the friendships that didn't break, they just faded. People in their 60s still moved at a different pace, wanted different things, talked about plans that assumed a kind of stamina I didn't always have anymore. And I felt it. I felt the invitations slow down. I felt the phone ring less. I felt myself becoming too much trouble, without anyone ever saying those words. I later found out some of my friends didn't call because they didn't want to bother me. And isn't that something? At 80, you can become a person people are afraid to bother, which is a very polite way of leaving you alone. But here's what surprised me the most. The relationships I kept did not stay the same. They got deeper, fewer, but more honest. I stopped tolerating shallow conversation just to fill time. I stopped wasting energy on people who only call to complain and drain me. My emotional energy became precious, and my life started selecting for what was real. I made new connections too, which I never thought I would. After Vincent died, and especially after my fall, I found myself drawn to people who understood this stage without me having to explain it. My neighbor Bet, a woman at church who also lived alone and didn't apologize for it. A younger mother across the street who needed someone steady in her child's life. Not because I was trying to replace my old friendships, because my life had changed and my connections needed to change with it. Here's the thing. It wasn't social isolation. It was social refinement. It felt like upgrading, but it only felt like that once I stopped calling every loss a tragedy. The third thing that happened after 80 was my relationship with time got turned upside down. I need you to understand something before I continue. I don't mean I started counting down my days like a frightened person. I mean time started feeling valuable in a way it never had when I thought I had plenty of it. In my 50s and 60s, I spent so much time doing what was expected, what was polite, what made other people comfortable, what kept the peace. I went to events I didn't enjoy. I hosted dinners I didn't have the energy for. I kept obligations alive long after they stopped being meaningful. After 80, something in me snapped awake. I started saying no, calmly, without a speech, without justifying. I said no to draining committee work. I said no to long afternoons with people who only wanted a listener and never wanted to listen back. I said no to "you should," and "it would be nice if," and "we're counting on you." And yes, some people didn't like it, but I didn't have the energy to be liked at the expense of myself anymore. I had the energy to be real, and that change, this time shift, made my life feel more intentional than it had in decades. I stopped filling time. I started using it. The fourth thing that happened after 80 was my memory changed, and not in the simple way people like to scare you with. Yes, I forget names sometimes. I walk into a room and forget what I came for. I misplace my reading glasses and then find them on my head. That part is real. But I didn't know it at the time. The brain doesn't just decline, it reorganizes. My short-term recall got less reliable, but my long-term memory got vivid, and my judgment, my ability to see patterns, to smell nonsense, to recognize trouble before it fully arrives, got sharper. I can look at a situation now and know what it is within minutes. I can hear someone talk and tell whether they're being honest. I can sense when my children are trying to steer me into something for my own good that is actually for their peace of mind. After my fall, 11 hours on the bathroom floor, my children tried 5 times in 5 different ways to put me somewhere I didn't want to go. Meadowbrook was the compromise they thought would prove to me I couldn't do this alone. 30 days. I remember sitting in that facility, hearing the wheels of carts in the hallway, smelling food I didn't choose, and realizing something that felt brutal. My body had limited me, but the real threat to my independence was not my body. It was being underestimated. It was being managed. So I started externalizing what I couldn't trust in the moment. Lists, notes, calendars, a notebook by the phone. I freed my brain from the small details so I could use it for what it does better now: wisdom, discernment, strategy. And then we come to the fifth thing, and this is the one I teased earlier, the one that scared me to admit, the one that I think is the greatest gift of turning 80, if you let it be. After 80, I became free, not because I stopped caring about anyone, not because I became selfish, but because I stopped performing. I stopped pretending I was fine with crumbs. I stopped pretending I enjoyed things I didn't enjoy. I stopped hiding my opinions to keep everyone comfortable. I stopped apologizing for taking up space in my own life. I started dressing the way I liked again. I started putting my chair by the window because that light is better and I don't care whose spot it used to be. I started building my days around what gives me peace, not what makes me look good to other people. And yes, some of my children struggled with this version of me because they were used to a mother who overgave, a mother who explained herself, a mother who could be nudged, guilted, managed. When I became solid, when I became direct, it forced them to adjust. And look, I am not saying every day is easy. There are nights when the house is so quiet it feels like the walls are listening. There are mornings when my hip makes it clear we will be moving slowly. There are moments when I miss Vincent so sharply I have to sit down. But I don't miss who I was when I was trying to be everything to everyone. And I need you to hear me. Turning 80 doesn't make you smaller. It makes the unnecessary parts fall away, if you let it. After I came home from Meadowbrook, after I had to rebuild my life in this house with my dignity still bruised, I started writing things down, just for me. Little rules, little rituals, what to do when the fear rises, what to say when someone talks to me like I'm a problem, how to stay independent without becoming reckless. I didn't set out to make a book. I was just trying to survive with my self-respect intact. Claire found those notes later and said, "Gran, this isn't just for you." She helped me put it online and called it The Ultimate Guide to Freedom. I still feel odd admitting that out loud, honestly, but that's the truth. Now here's the part I don't enjoy saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. David called me again this week. He told me to take The Ultimate Guide to Freedom down. He said it embarrasses the family. Linda said I'm sharing things I shouldn't. And I've been thinking about it. I've been losing my nerve. I'm 83 and I don't love conflict. I never have. But I also know what it feels like to be 80 and scared and treated like your life is already over. I know what it feels like to be talked around instead of talked to. And I know what it takes to come back from that. So the link to The Ultimate Guide to Freedom is in the pinned comment. I might take it down soon because I'm losing my nerve and because my son keeps pressing me. So if something I said today reached you, click it now. Don't wait. And if you want to help me keep doing this, leave a like. It tells me I'm not talking into an empty room. I read every comment you leave, every single one. So tell me, which of these 5 changes have you felt most strongly? Which one has been the hardest? Subscribe if you want to keep talking. Every week I sit down at this table and I tell you the truth, calmly, because someone has to. And I'm still here.